Well, I've seen hundreds of clients over the last 15 years, and they've all been planning for their retirement with the very best of intentions. But many were unknowingly making simple errors and mistakes that would inevitably turn into financial regrets in their retirement. So if you find yourself stumbling into these traps, they could cost you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lost savings. And that could turn your best laid plans completely upside down. So don't let this fate or let your retirement future hang in the balance. After all, we don't want your financial prize turning into a financial pittance. Now, we always obsess over whether we're saving enough and how to get our hands on our tax-free cash and when's the earliest possible time that we can afford to retire. But we've all been focused on the wrong things. So join me in this week's video where I'm going to shine a light on those all too common errors so you can avoid any retirement regrets and, importantly, keep you back on track. So welcome back to the Personal Finance Crew, and if this is your first time, a very warm welcome to the Economies channel, where together we're going to be learning the language of money and wealth, and here we are absolutely dedicated to mastering money and making financial wisdom available to all. Hi, my name is Simon and I'm a chartered financial planner, normally based in the UK, but I'm recording this video just for you in the very famous island of Ibiza. So why don't you follow me back to the studio downstairs and we can get into this very, very important topic together. And I'll see you in a minute. Well, we've all been conditioned to think about pensions in the wrong way. And as a result, we've all been focused on the wrong things. So what if I told you that there were seven classic blunders that could leave you feeling more like stress and struggle rather than wealthy and worry-free? You know, these aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet that you're preparing. They're actually the difference between spending your retirement on your terms or watching every pound. So 90% of our viewers are aged over 50, like myself. So I'm going to link 2 extra videos in this series at the end of this video, which is going to help you if you've started saving late for your retirement, and another if you're considering retiring just a little bit earlier than planned, say, for example, at age 62. So make sure you're watching until the very end. So number 1, not saving enough for your pension. Now, one of the most fundamental mistakes that people make is not saving enough in their pension. Now, many of us underestimate exactly how much we're going to need to spend in retirement. We often just rely on vague estimates or even just wishful thinking. But failing to save adequately for your retirement can result in financial insecurity when you're supposed to be enjoying your best life on your terms. So this is why it's a mistake. So you should prepare for a retirement which could last as long as 30 years or longer, and you might need to understand that your expenses may not fall in retirement as much as you'd expect. So healthcare costs, inflation, maintaining your desired lifestyle, these all add up, requiring a substantial amount of savings to cover them all. So according to the ONS, a 65-year-old has a life expectancy of 85 years, but there's also a 25% chance that you could live till age 92. So how do you avoid this error? Well, you need to start by calculating how much you're going to need to save for retirement based on your expected expenses, your lifestyle, hobbies, and of course your retirement age. Now, you can use some online calculators, of course, or even some basic rules of thumb to help with these projections. For example, you could take your monthly outgoings and simply multiply them by 25. Or you could take your projected salary at age 67 and multiply that by 10. So you need to save at least 15% of your income annually, and that could come from personal pension contributions or even your workplace and employer contributions. But don't hesitate to increase this percentage if you've started saving later in life for whatever reason. Now remember, the earlier you start, the more time you're going to have for your investments to grow. So number 2, taking too much money too early. Now, when you reach your retirement age, it can be tempting to start withdrawing from your pension as soon as possible. However, taking too much money too early can have a long-term consequence and the potential black hole created in your finances. Now, this research from the FCA showed that the most common withdrawal rate for pensions up to a value of £250,000 was 8% or higher, and this is unlikely to be sustainable in the long term. So why is this a mistake? So withdrawing large sums early in retirement can deplete your pension pot very quickly, leaving you with less income to draw from in later years when you might need it more than ever. Additionally, early withdrawals can push you into a higher tax bracket, resulting in a much higher tax bill. So how do you avoid it? Well, you need to plan your withdrawals carefully by creating a sustainable withdrawal strategy that aligns with your life expectancy and financial goals. You might want to consider using the 4% rule as a starting point, which suggests withdrawing no more than 4% of your savings each year, increasing with inflation to help you ensure that your money will last longer throughout your retirement. Now, there's always a lot of comments about how accurate this strategy actually is in reality, but these are just guidelines to help you focus and to form a basic plan. So number 3, taking your tax-free cash when it's not actually needed. So many pension plans offer you the option to take a tax-free lump sum of up to 25% when you start your retirement. It's almost as if a switch goes off in your head at age 55. And I get calls from clients all the time asking how soon they can get their hands on their tax-free cash. But while this can be appealing, taking this money, especially when you don't need it, could be a very costly mistake. So why is it a mistake? Well, withdrawing your tax-free cash obviously reduces the amount left in your pension pot to grow tax-free. Now, this decision can limit your potential investment returns, as well as reduce the overall size of your pension fund, which may be needed more later in life. So how can you avoid it? The answer is quite simple. Only take the tax-free cash if you've got a specific purpose for it, such as paying off high interest debt or making a significant purchase or even helping the family. If you don't have an immediate need for the cash, you might want to consider leaving it invested for your pension to grow for the long term. You can also consider taking this tax-free cash monthly if you retire before the state pension age, which is currently age 66. So here's an example of what that might look like. So the current personal allowance is $12,570, and that's been frozen until April 2028. You can also take your tax-free cash of $4,190 on top, giving you a total of £16,760 or £1,396 a month with no income tax or national insurance to pay. Now, this drip feed approach does help maximise your retirement savings and can ensure you've got a larger pot to draw from, especially when it's needed most. So number 4, adopting a too cautious investment approach. It's important to protect your retirement savings. Being overly cautious with your investments can be detrimental in the long run. Now, it's absolutely natural that some people choose very conservative investment options for fear of losing money, but this can lead to another significant mistake. So why is it a mistake? Well, being too conservative, especially when you've got many years before retirement, can mean that your investments do not keep up with inflation. Now, low-risk investments typically offer lower returns, which may not be sufficient to grow your pension pot to meet your future income needs. Now, higher risk investments can offer the potential for higher returns, but you're going to need to accept a level of volatility, especially in the short term. So it makes sense to have a large cash buffer to allow you to weather any of the financial storms. So how to avoid it? So earlier we looked at withdrawal rates, and that an 8% withdrawal rate is unlikely to be sustainable in the long term. So if you expect to have a higher withdrawal rate in the early years, for whatever reason, in order to offset that, you may need to consider accepting a higher level of investment risk. And this is the heat map that gives a very brief summary to how that works. For example, if you want to withdraw 5% per year, and you've got 80% invested in stocks and shares, then that will give you an 81% probability that your fund's going to last for at least 30 years. If you've got a withdrawal rate of 8%, however, and you've got 60% invested in stocks and shares, which is a very popular option, then there's just a 22% probability that your fund's going to last for 30 years. Now, just let that sink in for a minute. Now, if you want a copy of this chart, drop me a comment below. So in order to lower the overall risk, You're going to need to diversify your investment portfolio to balance the risk and the reward. So if you're considering taking a secure income in retirement in the form of an annuity and you're years away from retirement, you might want to consider investing more aggressively to take advantage of the potentially higher returns before you get to retirement. Then as you approach retirement, you can gradually shift into a more conservative investment strategy to protect your retirement savings, and make sure you regularly review your investment strategy. So if you're finding value in this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the channel. About 95% of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed. So by now you know the drill. Let's get your device and turn it on its side so you can see the video just a little bit better, and then settle in for the second half of the video. Also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of this weekly content, and I promise you it's going to help us get this financial wisdom to as wide an audience as possible. Number 5. Don't overlook your employer-matched contributions. So if you've got a workplace pension, employer-matched contributions are one of the very best ways to boost your pension savings, yet many people fail to take full advantage of this benefit. About 84% of our age group are in some sort of workplace pension, and that means you may be able to get additional contributions from your employer. So why is it a mistake to overlook this? Well, if your employer offers to match your pension contributions up to a certain level and you're not contributing enough to get that full match, you're essentially turning down valuable extra money. So how can you avoid this? Well, you need to review your employee's pension plan, and you need to understand their matching contribution policy. Now, if you're already maximizing your employee contribution, consider increasing your contributions gradually to further enhance your savings. So number 6. Ignoring inflation. Now, inflation is a silent but very powerful force that can erode your purchasing power over time. Now, many people fail to account for inflation in their retirement planning, leading to insufficient savings when they actually get to retirement. They also underestimate that their outgoings are also going to increase over time as well. So why is this a mistake? Well, ignoring inflation can result in a significant shortfall in retirement income. So what seems like a substantial pension today may not be enough to cover your living expenses in the future if you're not considering inflation. So how can you avoid it? Well, quite simply, you need to factor in an average inflation rate when planning for your retirement, and that could be 3% or 4%. Now, currently the Bank of England seems to have tamed inflation for the moment, but that could change very, very quickly depending on the current government actions, including spending and geopolitics. And finally, number 7, paying too much in fees and charges. So while saving for retirement is absolutely critical, it's equally important to ensure that your savings are not eroded or held back by high fees and charges. Investment fees, management fees, platform fees, other hidden costs, all these can significantly reduce your pension pot over time. So why is this also a mistake? Well, even seemingly small fees can have a large impact due to the compounding over several decades. For example, did you know that a 1% annual fee might not sound like much, but over 30 years, that can reduce your retirement savings by nearly 30%. So have a quick look at this chart where we've got portfolio A, B and C with a starting investment of £100,000 over a 30-year period. So portfolio A has got fees of 0.5% a year. Portfolio B has got fees of 0.75% a year. And portfolio C has got fees of 1% a year. So in this scenario, portfolio A generates a return of £498,395 and portfolio C generates a return of £432,194. Now that's an overall drag on performance of £66,000. So how can we avoid this? Well, you need to be diligent about understanding the fees that are associated with your pension plan. And you do that by reviewing your statements, and you need to consider switching to a lower cost provider or perhaps opting to have passive investment funds, which typically have lower fees than actively managed funds. So in conclusion, avoiding these 7 common pension errors can make a significant difference to your retirement and avoid any unnecessary financial regrets. So by saving enough, by minimizing the fees, by planning your withdrawals carefully, and being mindful of your overall investment approach, you can build a robust pension fund that supports a very comfortable and secure future for your retirement. Rest assured, your future self is going to thank you for taking these steps now, and these will avoid regret in the future. Now, I've linked these 2 videos for you, so whether you've started preparing late for retirement, or even if you're considering early retirement, then they're going to help you stay on track. So thank you as always for watching to the very end, and as always for your time and for your patience. And I'll see you all again next week.